the creek that, or stream that went through here, this drainage basin, was called Marshall Creek. Okay? We threw a dam across Marshall Creek and created a lake, Lake Marshall.
Today, our lens focuses in on the northern neck of Montross, Virginia. Let's meet the people and hear their stories. This is the history of Lake Marshall.
My name is Gary M. Hutt, and I reside right here in this house, and that's at 3409 Nina Road. Daniel Hutt was the first one to come to this country in the Hutt clan. He was a ship's captain, and he and his wife got land grants. My father, J. Clifford Hutt, he had a brother named Viola Hutt. He got some land down in Nina, and then me and my brothers. So we make the 10th generation. 482 acres plus my house side here, which is 16 acres. My brother inherited the other side of the lake. It was 367 acres. That's the layer side.
Okay.
In '73, I went into the containerized nursery business. And you got to have water, and quality water, and ample supply. So it kind of picked out the dam site as a younger man. And with me going into the nursery business, we had reason to build it and a way to pay for it. So anyway, we started building it back in 1990. Taking out and filling the keyway. That's keyway happens below grade. You get down to blue marl. Then you start filling it in with fat clay. We had ample amount of fat clay on that side of the lake, and sandy material that we need for the side slopes on this side of the lake. So got the keyway built, and in '91 we built the dam itself, and that process took all of that year. And in '92 we finished building the dam. Trey Hamlet introduced me to the game. Local guy. He came to me one day and asked if he could put in a 9-hole disc golf course. And I didn't hear the word disc. Okay, I just said 9-hole golf course. No, I'm not going to waste my time trying to build a 9-hole golf course on this property. He said, no, not golf. disc golf. This was back in 2012. I looked at him and said, what in the hell is disc golf? He grabbed a handful of putters. He says, I'll show you. And we had a target out to about 325 feet away, and he was throwing those putters and coming within 25 feet of the target. And I says, you're throwing a putter 300 some odd feet? He says, yeah. Well, if you got a driver, go get it. I want to see you throw that. He says, I can't. I says, why? He says, I'll throw it in the lake and lose my disc. And that's what really got the gears turning in my head. So, all right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to study this thing for a while. And 2013, 2014, I studied the history of the sport from its very beginnings. And there was a definite lack of championship grade disc golf courses at the time. A lot of par 3 courses. And being an old golfer, I played some par 3 courses in that, and it's boring to me. Okay? So I knew with this facility I had, it was going to be a championship grade disc golf course, par 72, about 12,000 feet, and or nothing.
All right, Trey Hamlet, live in Montrose, Virginia. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, moved here when I was 20 after college, so been here ever since. I am now 41 years old. So, all right, the first time at Lake Marshall, which is the Hutt property, I would probably say was around 2006, about 4 years before I ever knew what disc golf was. I was more into like four-wheeling, dirt bikes, you know, that type of thing, trail running. I started playing disc golf in 2010. I played for 1 year and then quit for about 4 years after that. But when I came here, I never even saw the side of the property where Lake Marshall is, where the lake is. It's a big piece of property. And I originally showed up on the other side where the nursery is, and I was like, man, this would be a cool place to throw frisbees. There's a bunch of irrigation ponds, a lot of trees, and just kind of got excited. I was like, that'd be cool. Completely forgot about it, right? His youngest daughter, Jessica, she heard from her dad that, you know, he wanted to create some kind of trail running thing or something for the people in the area to do, whether it be high school kids to do trail running for cross country or people to just enjoy the scenery around the lake. And I heard that, I think I heard that around 2011 or 2012. And I kind of said to her, because I had been playing disc golf for about a year at that time, and I kind of said to her, I was like, your dad should really look into, you know, building a disc golf course. It's pretty low maintenance. You have plenty of property, and, you know, it could be some little short dinker course through the woods, and, you know, the locals could play it, and it'd be all, you know, it'd be fun. And so didn't really hear anything for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, and they figured they forgot about it or didn't care about it. But she comes back and she's like, hey, how much do you think it would cost to, you know, put in 18 holes and 18 tee boxes? So I gave him that quote. Didn't hear anything again. You know, this was about another 6 months to 8 months passed by, and next thing I know, she's coming back again. She says, well, my dad's kind of interested a little bit. He wants to talk to you more about it. And so that's pretty much the first time I met her dad. Well, I would say 2012, 13-ish, and that was, so the word of disc golf got to him through his daughter and not really directly through me at first. So that was the beginning of disc golf talk on this property. All right, John Bisco. Met him in 2010 at Hawk Hollow for this disc golf course review. They had this little meetup thing. There was like maybe 30 of us that showed up at Hawk Hollow. And that was actually my first time playing Hawk Hollow, which kind of really changed my mind on what I thought disc golf could really be or should be. Because before that time, I had only played like the small par 3 courses, and I had always been a golfer, right? So like my mind is like, all right, I like par fours, the thrill of hitting a bad tee shot and recovering, getting a par or birdie. Like all that was missing up until that point. So when I first played Hawk Hollow, that kind of opened my eyes to how really cool disc golf could be. Course design experience. That's a good question, because I would consider myself a little bit of a OCD level person when it comes to my design methods. I was a golfer just like Gary was since I was like 16. So I started golfing in like 1997, 1998, and really enjoyed like golf courses and golf course designs. And I'd always remember being on the course thinking, man, it'd be great if they'd have done this, or I wish they'd have done that, or oh, you had an opportunity for this but didn't take it. So I think as far as golf course design in general, it's kind of been in my head for quite some time, since I was 16 or so. But first time designing disc golf hole, I think, was probably in 2010 or 11, actually, where I met with these two guys, Jerry Hannes and Billy Safford from Maryland, and made a couple holes over at some property near my house that we played. But other than that, no, Lake Marshall was pretty much my first course design. What makes a good hole, they say? Well, par fours, try to build them from the middle out. Par fives, you try to build them from the second shot in, and calculate in the distances, elevation, where we are here in Virginia, and what the average top 5% of players can throw, especially if you're building like a top tier golf course. If you're building something that's supposed to be fun, I wouldn't recommend that at all. But for out here, that's kind of how we develop these holes around that concept.
I'm John Bisco, and I live in Spotsylvania, Virginia. We played a lot of Frisbee in college, played Ultimate. We played a game that was very similar to disc golf that we thought we invented, but of course a lot of people did that a lot of different places. In 1994, I lived in Richmond, Virginia, up on Church Hill, and they installed Gillies Creek disc golf course very close to my home. And realistically, my friends all enjoyed disc golf much more than I did at first. I was a team sports player in high school and throughout my youth, which teaches you bad sportsmanship, of course. And me being a bad sport, I really hated losing to my friends. And that's really what induced me to get more involved in disc golf and to get better at it. So rather than just quit entirely, I worked at it and got a little better and stopped losing to them. And that has led me to the point where it has pretty much dominated my existence ever since. I have, over the years, run 100 plus PDGA events. I have organized a statewide series that still exists. I have been first a regional coordinator with the PDGA and then a state coordinator for about a 10-year period. I currently make my living designing disc golf courses, various places, which is something I'm fortunate enough to be able to do at this point. The first course I designed was Dory Park in Richmond in 1997, I believe is when that went in. In the 90s, we were in a much different situation than we are now with disc golf. We were simply flat out begging for space, various places, and at that point, we were willing to do all the work and all the labor, the entirety of it, for nothing, just to get courses in the ground. In 97, I believe there were 15 courses in the state of Virginia at that point, which we have progressed to the point now in 2023 where there are roughly 200. I'm not quite sure. Seeing fairways in the woods is something that certainly doesn't come real naturally to people. Once it's a matter of experience. Doing it enough times, you get better at it. You can visualize a little bit more what's going to be there, what's going to remain after the extraneous stuff has been removed. It's always difficult in the woods to judge distance when you're first putting holes in. You tend to vastly overestimate how long everything is because it's work to make your way through it physically. For Dory Park, for instance, which was our first project, we had holes out at Dory that we thought, oh Lord, this is like 400 feet long. It's gigantic, which 400 feet long was gigantic in the late 90s. And you would cut the thing out and then it would be 200 feet long all of a sudden. And so even to this day, having done it a whole bunch of times at this point, I still have to sort of be cognizant of the fact that I'm always going to underestimate distance or overestimate distance rather in the woods. You look for a landowner who's willing to have disc golf. And at this point in my career, I look for a landowner who's willing to pay to have disc golf. That's the true answer.
I love it.
I have. It's probably an easier answer on the physical sites because there are sites where I've told people that aren't suitable for disc golf. Oh, wow. And that is generally more of you don't have enough space, or it's going to be so much work that it's not going to for such a limited result that you're not going to find that trade-off worthwhile. It's in a lot of ways it's easier to say what doesn't work more so than what does. A long time ago, Harold Duvall said somewhere, I believe I probably read it in a magazine, but I'm not quite certain of that. But Harold, for those who don't know, Harold is one of the owners of Innova. He's behind the USDGC and the things that go on at Winthrop. But I have been always been very impressed with Harold's work designing courses of a wide variety of courses. The course that I really have always admired was one called Earlwood Park in Columbia, South Carolina. We used to go down there every year. It was sort of the beginning of the year event, and Earlwood had sort of 18 reachable holes, but each one was individually different. There was no two shots that were the same. And what I read, Harold later on, I read where Harold had said something about design, where the questions were simply, you ask yourself, is it fun and is it fair? And I go back to that every time I do anything with course design. I really think that the vast majority of the things that you're trying to encompass with design still to this day can be summed up is just with the questions. Is it fun? Is it fair? Now we pay a little more attention to, is it fun or is it fair for a certain level of player, rather than trying to be quite as universal as we were years ago. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Let's see. I initially met Trey through some folks on the Disc Golf Course Review website, which would have been Jerry Hannes and Billy Safford, who are both from Southern Maryland, actually. They had met this guy out playing somewhere over there, maybe Turkey Hill. I'm not quite sure. No, Turkey Hill actually probably wasn't in the ground yet, but who they, were swearing up and down, oh, well, this guy throws, just picked up a disc and he throws 500 feet. And, you hear that internet stuff so frequently that you tend to think that it's bull. Well, then they had an event out here at Hawk Hollow that was basically a weekend camp out for people from Disc Golf Course Review. And Trey was one of the individuals who came to that. And it turned out that it was all true. Then a little bit down the line, Trey invited me down to Lake Marshall to look at the property down there. And that is when I met Gary first. And then at some point a little later down the line than that, I met Corey through that process.
Corey Lucas. I live here in Montrose, Virginia, on the property here at Lake Marshall Disc Golf. I met Trey through some friends, I guess, probably 15 years ago. And we used to ride dirt bikes and four-wheelers together. And we've just stayed like close friends, almost like brothers. And Gary, his daughter married one of my best friends down here. So I was introduced to the Hutt family. I guess it was 6 years ago. Trey Hamlet had called me up and was trying to get my son interested in disc golf. And so we came over here and right here on this hole, and we watched these guys throw these discs, and this guy just mashes one OB long, and another guy gets up and he's all lefty, and I think he made the gap, and the other guy, I'm not sure, I can't remember if he hit this first tree here, the crooked one, or not. But anyways, my son didn't take interest, and come to find out, the guys we were watching that night were Chris Dickerson, Zach Melton, and Cody Bradshaw. And yeah, they had me thinking that disc golf and throwing a disc was easy the way they threw it. And so the next day, Trey calls me up and asked if I wanted to try it, and I come over and I pick up my first disc and I throw it, and the disc goes and doesn't go anywhere. And I'm like, this disc is broken. And I don't know, I got the bite.
Corey, I hired him to help at the nursery. And Trey got him to start playing disc golf. And what I noticed about him more than anything else, he was well-rounded so far as capabilities. I might try to make a production manager out of him. He's got what I call $1 million smile and a gift of gab. And I said, I got to do more with this guy, And since he's interested in disc golf, I'm going to put him in charge of marketing of it. Then go from there. Corey has contributed a lot to where we are right now. But he's a heck of a big help. I'm very proud of him, what he's done.
I take care of the property, take care of all the maintenance around the property on the course, take care of the upkeep. When as far as Trey designed a beautiful course, so we went back in and put in things like these crepe myrtles, and we have other shrubs and trees on the property that we've put in to kind of shape the fairways and just make the beautiful landscape even better. So I would say I guess I'm the property manager.
Now, I have to ask you a personal question. Do you yourself play disc golf, or have you tried?
No, never have played it. I had to make a decision. Either I was going to build this disc golf complex, or I was going to play disc golf. And at my age, when I started building this thing, I figured I was better off just building and let you guys play. I went to a tournament down Hawk Hollow. It's the first time I'd seen it. And I asked John who could I follow and watch play. He said, I think Zach Milton would be the man. My wife and I were there. What I was doing was evaluating holes on a Hawk Hollow as I was walking through and watching Zach and those guys play. And, you know, things I didn't like about Hawk Hollow or things I really liked about Hawk Hollow. And my wife got down to that catwalk and she looked a little nervous about it. And Zach came up to her and took the time to escort her across by hand across that creek. And I was dumbstruck by that. Here you got a man that's making his living playing disc golf, and he's leading a tournament, and it took the time to see to it that my wife got across safely, and up the hill they had the slippery hill up to the next hole. And I just thought about that for a while, and I decided that if disc golf is attracting these kind of people, then I sure in hell want to be part of this game. So that was a motivation to build it.
Hole 15, I think it is, at Hawk Hollow, but it helped me understand that distance was not the only factor in disc golf. I mean, I enjoyed throwing far. You know, I literally 4 weeks playing disc golf, I was already throwing over 500. I sucked at everything else. Couldn't putt 10 feet, whatever, but I just enjoyed throwing hard. But hole 15 at Hawk Hollow made me kind of realize that, hey, you know, you're not throwing as hard as you can. You need to land it here, and then you have another shot that you have to, you know, throw pretty accurately and downhill, and there's out of bounds to the right, which is legitimate out of bounds. It's a creek. So it's like that hole kind of made me feel like that it made me feel a lot like golf. And so a lot of the holes out here, I wanted to have that same kind of feeling where you're throwing to a landing spot. I wanted you to have multiple lines. I don't want any lines there's no lines out here that are forced. That was like one of my big things when building any of this, was I didn't want any forced lines. I didn't want to build a hole out of thought of, oh, it would be cool if a disc did this. It was never that. I wanted the player to be able to get up to the hole, get up to a tee box, and decide what they're going to do.
Trey and I were struggling a little bit in figuring out where we could put holes at. And he kind of paused one day and said, you know, we need to get a course designer down here. And I got one. I said, who? How much will he cost? His cost won't be a factor that bad, but he's John Biscoe. He called John. We set up an appointment, and he came down, and we had a little talk about, you know, what I was trying to do, so forth and so on. Anyway, Biscoe agreed to help us, and it did take him long to get us what direction we should run the courses or the holes and stuff like that. And he's been part of the organization ever since then.
Trey has been the primary designer at Lake Marshall, more so than I have. I go down there and sort of evaluate the ideas and tell them, you know, this is or isn't a good idea. Is mostly what my input has been.
I think we started building the course in early 2015, I believe. We knew that because of the lake already being there, the dam is there, there was some easy stuff on the other side and some obvious stuff on this side of the lake, meaning I guess it'd be the south side of the lake, since you can't really see where I'm pointing right now. But we knew that there was a lot of potential for some really quick holes to go in, right? Like we knew that we could get 5 or 6 holes in almost immediately with little to no effort. They weren't the holes that you see today, but they were holes out here and they were playable. And so I would say we probably had the first playable set of loop holes out here in late 2015, and then we held that first tournament.
We had a tournament down here, and Steve Miller, who's a pro player, won it. Bisco gave him his money, and wasn't a big pot or anything like that. And he turned around and says, "Here, keep building this course." Wow. Yeah, I said, "Okay." So I asked him, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He said, "Yeah." So I knew I was heading in the right direction with the type of course we were trying to build here. So between Trey and his ability to see things, how a hole should be built, stuff like that, and where a hole should go, between him and Bisco, we've got what we got.
Yeah, there's significant changes from what we originally did because, the initial plan was that there was just going to be one course. So when we first were running events down there, it was on sort of a hybridized chunk of what is now Lions along with some of what is now Lair. And then eventually Gary's brother, who actually owns the Lair property, bought in, and Lair became a complete course. And so then there's been additional building out of Lions to compensate to get up to 18 holes. Holes 1 through 3 on Lions weren't completed until considerably after a lot of the other stuff. So it was really nice as a tournament director, quite frankly, to be able to finally have all 18 on one side, so where you could simply say, okay, well, this is the course we're playing for the day.
So I started out just to build one course, just the Lions, and it mushroomed on me. So what was going to be a 3 to 4 year project turned out being 8 years.
I ended up helping Trey finish up the layer, finish the Lions. I maintain it. We all share different ideas to make it what it is.
I came up with the names, okay? Lions is easy. I looked at disc golfers as being the gladiators, in the sport. And the objective is to slay the lion, okay? Or the lion may slay them. If you bird it, you beat the lion. If you par it, it's an even match. If you bogey it or worse, the lion's got you. The Lambs, it being a intermediate level course and turned into a pitch and putt course, we call that one the Lambs. But if you look at my sign up front, you see this lamb has fangs.
I never noticed that.
Go notice it. Okay. And I got the idea about the fangs. This guy by the name of Draper, okay, played it one day with some guys. And when he finished up on 9, he came walking up to me and looked rather upset. He said, "So far as I'm concerned, you lied to me." I said, "What do you mean I lied to you? This course ain't no lambs." So it kicked my butt. So I said, "Okay. And lambs with fangs." So that's the lamb. The layer, it's a woods course. Okay? And I can easily see wolves living there. And I said, well, that's a natural fit. We'll call that one the lair. So we got the lambs, the lair, and the lions.
It was exciting. It was made me nervous, happy. It was just a ball of emotion, a lot of responsibility. We had a lot of stuff to still get ready for that we weren't really prepared for. But we got the work done. We had the event. I got to meet some of the greatest pros in the world. Got to meet my favorite player, besides Zach Melton and Chris Dickerson, which is Yuli. I absolutely love Yuli, and I think he's just awesome in the disc golf scene. And hopefully, you know, I'm not going to settle with just the Silver Series. I would love to get both the courses completely finished, all the modifications done that I want to, and maybe host the Worlds out this way and bring the Worlds to Virginia.
There's a lot of hidden gems out there, and Lake Marshall is definitely one of them. I doubt after we play it this year as a Silver Series, it'll be a Silver Series again next year.
Hill at Lake Marshall in Virginia. I heard great things about it. The hype was real, and it lived up to it.
Here at Lake Marshall Silver event in 2022. First thoughts about the course. It's one of the most beautiful places I've played so far. Difficult, demanding with the lines, angle control, all the things that I like in a course. There's OB, fair. I love this place. It's one of my favorite tracks I've ever played. Literally.
Gary Hutt it was one of Gary's goals to begin with, to have the best in the world out there playing on the property. And I feel like, you know, I was tremendously happy to have that happen for Gary's sake, as probably more so than my own. But again, it really comes back to, again, you know, it's nice. Everyone has an ego, and it's nice to have your ego, you know, get patted on the head every once in a while, and feel like you're doing things in the right direction.
Yeah.
Felt pretty good. It felt nice to have a lot of the touring pros come here and play and give their opinion of the course. A lot of them gave a lot of positive opinions, but it's definitely a good step in the right direction. I think the end goal right now of this property, I think, is potentially for this to be like a Masters level event for disc golf as compared to regular golf, where you kind of host a tournament each year that's kind of for the best players in the world to come and play one of the best courses in the world at like a single, I don't know, I guess you want to call it a major event, so to speak, and just kind of comparing it to golf. So I think that's kind of the end goal. Not sure if we'll get there or not, but that's the hope.
Oh, I was excited about that. The only downside to it, to me, so far as I was concerned, Friday morning, I tested positive with COVID. One of the volunteers was assigned to duty to walk up to me and said, "Gary, I hate to tell you this, but you're fired. Go up to your house and stay there."
Wow. So for this Silver Series event, pros are walking all over your property. You were quarantined just to be up here on the back.
Right.
God. And on a sad note, I think that at the same time, Bisco's mother was very sick.
He wasn't here either, which speaks very well of the assistant TD and the volunteers we had here. Because I think it was Bob Cannon was the assistant TD, and they took over right in stride and conducted the tournament to everybody's satisfaction. I was very proud of that.
All right, this is Lions Hole 4, which is my favorite hole on the course. This is the hole where I was introduced to disc golf. This was the hole when I first started playing that was closest to my house. So I could come out here in the evenings and just take a disc and throw them back all the way down and then throw them back up the fairway and just sit out here in the evenings and just throw. I've been practicing my backhand.
My favorite hole to play the most would be hole 11 on the Lions. It's a long hole. It's 915 foot par 4. It is downhill, but it requires 2 really good shots. And if you birdie it, you feel good coming off it. And I think that's how golf should feel.
The way I look at it, I can't say I have a favorite hole.
Yeah.
Okay, I said that. And the reason is, when you build something, it's like giving birth to a child.
It's a child, right.
Okay? And you really don't have a favorite child, because each one of them winds up offering something different.
Well, as anyone who's been there knows, that is a difficult question. I am quite fond of hole 9 on the Lair. I am quite fond of hole 18 on the Lions. I would say that those 2 are probably the ones that stick out on either of the courses to me. But again, there's no real right or wrong answer to that.
All right, so aces at the Lake Marshall property in tournaments. Starting on the Lair side, hole 4, Elaine King was the first ace on the Lair in a tournament, and probably in tournament history on the Lair. She aced hole 4 first, and then in the same day, it was later on that day, maybe in the same round, but it was later on, Sam Shiley aced hole 4 as well on the Lair. And later on, we got an ace on hole 10 by Nathan Shoemaker, and we got an ace on hole 14 long by Zach Melton, and the Lair Championship either 1 or 2 years ago. I can't remember. It is on video as well. Sean Peterson on 14 short Lair with ace. Lake Marshall Open, is that what it was? Okay. And then on the Lions side, the only tournament ace we have was the Disc Golf Pro Tour event by Macy Bella Diaz. Yeah, that's how you say her last name. So yeah, Mike Moser, he is literally played it blind, came out here the first round, but he came out and shot like a 53 or 54 on the Lair, and that record still holds to this day. I mean, someone may have also shot a 53 or 54, but his was the first, and no one's beaten whatever he threw. I'd have to look it up. So that was a pretty awesome round to play blind like that. And he ended up winning that tournament as well for his division.
Makes me feel like I haven't been wasting my time, I can tell you. We're doing something right here. And I feel like we've earned, the escalation. I don't know whether it's to the point where it should be 12 or not, but
It's there.
it's there. So.
I'm appreciative, but I'm not gonna settle. When I got into this with Trey and Gary, I told them then that I wouldn't stop until we were number 1. Same thing I've always told my children: if you're gonna do something, try to be the best at it. If you're gonna put in the time and effort. And I told them that I didn't want to go to the Pro Tour and be like, oh, play our course. And I wanted them to actually come to us and be like, we've heard what you guys are doing. We'd love to have an event. And last year, we were fortunate enough to be host our first Silver Series here. It just shows that if you push, you can get what you want. And you just got to believe.
Oh, you must have knew to ask me that one, because I think the UDisc ranking system is a joke as it is. So, I mean, I guess we could start there.
Okay, let's start there.
Because, yeah, I don't even think this course is number 1 in Virginia on UDisc. So that ought to say enough right there.
But we all know.
Yeah. No, that doesn't mean much to me. Actually, the disc golf course review, the place where there's a lot of guys out there who plays a lot of courses, who spend a lot of time writing reviews and really digging into what makes a good course and looking at all aspects of the course. There's some really good guys out there that do reviews on that, and I think right now we're somewhere in the top, I don't know, 3 or whatever on that. So that's kind of what I look at and pay more attention to, other than the UDisc, because UDisc is obviously it's a popularity contest. If I go build a 5-hole course in a Walmart parking lot and 500 people like it, then it's going to be the #1 course in the state. So, I mean, on UDisc. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
It's always nice to get a pat on the back for things that you have done and feel like you've done well. It makes me wonder, okay, well, what are the 11 courses that are better than that to some degree as well? But it's the thing that, for a very long time, disc golf had zero money associated with doing any of this work. And the thing that keeps you going doing it is simple little pieces of appreciation like that you get either from just simply players thanking you or something a little more structured like those UDisc ratings. It's always nice to hear you've done something well.
Gary came to me at the beginning of this year and told me, he said, I know you want something for yourself. Have you thought about going ahead and opening up a online shop and maybe turning it into a shop here at the course? So went ahead and done that. Now I'm online. I'm running events and giving merch out. And if you sign up for a Lake Marshall event, Roundtable is going to be the one that provides the payouts. And so we're hoping to have the pro shop up here by the Lions parking lot. Roundtable Disc Golf will be the one who's in there selling disc and providing the best plastic for the players out here. Roundtable Disc Golf also runs the events out here. It's my contribution to disc golf is I'm going to try to do everything I can to bring it for the amateurs, because the pros are getting paid that cash. So amateurs need plastic, and when you're out here at the lake, if you've ever experienced it, you might lose a disc or two. So I want to make sure I can try to replace what you lost, at least until I can find it for you.
Today we've talked a little bit about Hawk Hollow and Lake Marshall, but all of this stuff, it all builds on things that have come before it. Without Mike Trapasso and the Grange, which is now the Blockhouse, and Don Johnson and Ace Run Ranch, and those are the people who really started the private courses in Virginia. And without that happening, I don't know that I can quantifiably say that Hawk Hollow would ever have existed. And without Hawk Hollow, you run into a question of whether Lake Marshall would have existed. Lake Marshall also got a big boost simply from Zach Melton being extremely nice to Gary and Gary's wife when they were out here watching an event at Hawk Hollow. And it's all we all work together on these things, whether we're working directly on something or not. It's all interwoven. Growth doesn't come from just one place and one person deciding that they're going to bust their butt and make it so. It comes from a lot of people donating time, a lot of people donating effort, and a lot of that is in very small ways, but it's all incremental and it grows slowly and surely.
So the course is probably spanning about, between the lake, the fields, everything that's being used, is spanning close to 200 acres, I would think, maybe 180 to 200 acres. Corey's wife, Nakia, has planted probably close to 1,000 plants out here, which is crazy to think about. You think about just planting, 10 or 15, you're like, my hand hurts, I'm stuck, I'm done, I'm going inside. She's planted like 1,000 or so plants out here. It's insane. Corey has helped plant, you know, the bigger trees and larger stuff. But yeah, as far as when you play this property and you look around, you see everything out there. You see color, you see things looking nice, and so on. And not only does she plant them, she also knows how to take care of them. So that's a big part of it, because if I planted any of it, it'd be dead as hell. So very positive thing. We really appreciate her for that. She doesn't really get the recognition as much because nobody knows, not that many people know that she does it. So it's good to see her. If you ever see Nakia out here, it's Corey's wife. She's pretty awesome and knows her plants and has done quite a bit of work out here.
Just come in and have a good time and detox yourself from some of your stress. This is a good place for it.
I just enjoy seeing the people out here and playing. So the sport has helped me with a lot of issues in life. And we lost our daughter in March this year, and this is where her and I got along and had the most enjoyment. My doubles partner, my caddy, and I've used all the anger that I've had to just keep pushing disc golf and pushing round table disc golf, Lake Marshall. Anybody that's in Virginia that's trying to do something with disc golf, as long as they're going in the right direction and they're doing it for the right reasons, I'm going to try to be there and stand with them. And we're going to show everybody exactly what Virginia disc golf is.